Hello my friends, so I welcome all of you 92,000 starseeds, light workers and wanderers from all over the world to this session. And in today's session I have channeled Metatron magnetic consciousness to understand about 3 queries which I had received from the YouTube community posts, and many of you also wanted to know the truth about these things, in particular specifically about what really is the rapture and when will it happen and how. So this is one of the questions which has been covered in the session, and I know that many of you already have an idea about what rapture is, but let me tell you that the information in the session is not similar. It's not like the one which we have been told by other people. Okay, this is a bit different. So I hope you will understand when you listen to the session. This rapture actually involves a lot of things regarding ascension, and also they have described when will it happen. Okay, so when is the likelihood of this rapture event happening has also been discussed in the session. The other thing that I have asked about is, was there a hidden agenda behind the death of Princess Diana? Now I received many emails specifically from people who wanted to know what really happened with Princess Diana. Did she actually die in a car crash, or was there something else going on? And turns out this thing is actually, there is a different level of information which is missing. So in the session you will clearly understand what actually happened with Diana, and you will be surprised in a way when you listen to the session like I was. Okay, so the last question which I asked about was what are the levels of self-awareness which we need to achieve, and how we can test where we are in our ascension progress. So they have described, so Metatron has described a test which can help us to find out where we are in our journey of ascension at this time. So with that being said, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining me on my Patreon, where I am holding a meditation to protect our planet on the 21st of September. And also thank you for liking the video, as it helps to reach out to more people like us, like starseeds, wanderers and light workers. So enjoy the session, my friends.
I am Metatron, magnetic consciousness, and I am communicating now through this channel in the divine love of the universal light grid programmer. I, Metatron, am here to suggest to the people of your planet that there is a change which is occurring at this time upon your planetary space-time vibration. Many of these changes are because beings upon your planet have now started to recognize their own true essence and the connection with the universal divine grid programmer. Many have recognized their true power and potential, and many have begun to awaken within themselves as the right to understand their true pathway in the ascension. As the love light childs of the universal divine grid programmer, I, Metatron, must state that before my thoughts reach your people's vibration, every entity must remember to use discernment when listening to my thought forms. The queries which are found in the mind complex of this channel pertains to the understanding of the concept of rapture and when will it happen and how. I, as Metatron, must state that there is a misunderstanding upon your planetary space-time of this concept known as rapture, as many entities upon your planet have forgotten that the true meaning of rapture is but a event which welcomes all the fourth density graduates or the souls who have achieved fourth density graduation into the new earth. This is the event known as the rapture. And the process of welcoming new initiates into the social memory complex, which is formed in the fourth density consciousness in the new earth, will be accompanied by welcoming and union with all other universal divine light grid programmers who have already achieved a higher level of vibration, such as the wanderers and the teachers of light and love. These teachers primarily are of varied nature upon your planetary sphere, and they may vary based upon each individual entity's experience during the incarnation. Prior to the graduation, the entity will meet those wanderers who had a higher spiritual impact upon such an entity, which aided the entity in its spiritual ascension into the fourth density vibration. This means that each individual entity will meet a different wanderer, which had a spiritual impact upon it during its ascension pathway. For example, an entity who particularly is inspired by the teachings of a certain entity, universal love light child, known as by your people as either Dolores Cannon or any other teachers such as Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad or any other spiritual teachers, will find it meeting such an entity during the phase of graduation, and entry into the new earth will signify the events of the rapture, which will happen in your planetary sphere, and it is imminent that the process of rapture will take place during the completion of the transition from the third density to the fourth density planetary vibration. However, we, the angelic beings, cannot ascertain the exact space and time to provide you with the exact timeline wherein such an event will happen. Furthermore, I, as Metatron magnetic consciousness, must also state that the rapture will also signify the starting of a new planetary fourth density cycle, and all the souls who do not meet or who could not complete their lessons in choosing the path of service to others and learning the lessons of love will find themselves escorted using the so-called spaceships and motherships by the Council of Planets, and they will be escorted to another planetary sphere for relearning the lessons of love and compassion again, and complete the third density lessons, as the new earth planetary vibration will no longer support such a distortion of separation as is prevalent in the third density timeline, and all entities who graduate into the fourth density will become a part of the New Earth social memory complex of the universal divine grid programmer and the positive polarity. Further, I, as Metatron, shall now address the second query, which relates with what was the real event which happened during the so-called death of an entity known as Princess Diana, the Princess of Wales as known by your people. Vibration complex. I, as Metatron, must now suggest my thought forms as found upon scanning the Akashic records of the event. I must state that this event, which was signified as the death of the entity known as Princess Diana, was invalid, as the entity known as Princess Diana is still alive. Furthermore, this entity was at that space-time location known as Paris, was abducted by negatively oriented entities who wanted to stop the entity. During the timeline of the space-time identification terms as 1997, the negatively oriented entities, they wanted to stop the entity known as Princess Diana, who in essence had the vibration of light and love, and had incarnated for the purpose of acting as a light grid and changing the planetary consciousness towards a positive vibration. However, since the negatively oriented entities, the reptilians, do not want such a aspect to happen, this entity known as Princess Diana was planned to be abducted during the opening of a flap which happened during the space-time location of 1997, wherein the planetary grid opened up and the negative entities were able to enter into the Earth's planet by bypassing the planet's quarantine. This bypassing of the quarantine led the entity known as Princess Diana to be abducted while it was traveling in a car. This abduction was created by the reptilians and the Orions, who had already manufactured a body double, which was then left at the cross site of the car. The original entity, the Princess of Wales, was abducted and taken aboard the spaceship by the reptilians. This was done in order to confuse the masses, to make the masses believe that the car had crashed, leading to the death of the entity. However, this was not the true nature of events, and this then led the entity to be abducted, and the entity currently is still alive, as I, Metatron, can scan. However, it is under the control of the negatively oriented entities in the planet Mars, and is being used by the reptilians for creating hybrids who are being used for entering the Earth planet in the form of human biological entities. This is being done to create many other reptilian humanoid beings with the ability of shape-shifting and creating distortions in the planetary vibrations. Therefore, I, as Metatron, must state that this was the real event which happened at the time. The other query, which relates with the understanding of how to find out the ascension progress of an individual entity who is the divine love light child of the universal light grid programmer. I, as Metatron, must now give a simple test which can assist your people in recognizing and finding out their own ascension progress. I must now state that there is a circle of ascension, which is a part and parcel of the third density, self-awareness, reality. The circle of ascension is created for allowing the entities of the third density planets to recognize that there are several layers which need to be understood for ascension into the fourth density consciousness. The third density, reality, signifies self-awareness, learning. And the first layer in the circle of ascension is signified with attachment with things. There may be entities on your planetary sphere who are still attached with the things of the material objects of third density reality. This is the first layer. And once the entity on the planet learn to detach from material possessions on the outside, they begin to then merge into the second level of the circle of ascension, which revolves around attachment with the words and images. This layer is the hardest to penetrate, as many of the entities who are currently learning the lessons of ascension in your planetary sphere find themselves located at this level. This level of attachment is very hard to let go of by your people. However, many of your entities are able to detach from the words and the images by learning meditation and becoming self-conscious. After the completion of this circle, arrives the next circle, which leads to the understanding of realizing detachment with things, words, and images. This circle leads to the opening of spiritual knowledge for many entities. Once they learn to be detached with things, words, and images, they begin to open up their higher energy centers and create a massive flow of spiritual energy to their mind, body, and spirit vortex. Then arrives the next layer of the circle of ascension, which relates with attachment with service to self. Those entities who are still at this level will find it difficult to serve others, and will find it difficult when they are sharing a certain thing or a material possession or the aspect known as money. They will feel the feeling of lack, which will prevent them from serving others. And this is the subtle layer which the entities must learn to detach from. After learning the lessons in this timeline, then entities will fully become capable of accepting love and unity consciousness of the one universal light grid programmer in all entities, and leads to service to others. And this leads to the completion of the circle of ascension, leading from third density to the fourth. I am Metatron, magnetic consciousness, turned to the mountain of light, within yourself by.
So my friends, after watching the session, I hope you have gained some understanding with regards to the queries which have been placed today. Basically, what I have understood from the session is, look, about the rapture. So basically, what they said is rapture is an event which is like equivalent to welcoming of the new souls who have graduated into the fourth density consciousness. It's like a welcoming ceremony, you may say, okay? And in the rapture, what actually happens is you will meet your teachers, okay? You will meet whoever you resonate with the most, whoever has had a spiritual impact upon you during the time of your learning the lessons from third density to the fourth density. Whichever entity, whichever being had a spiritual impact in your journey, you will meet that being, okay? So you will meet whoever. It may be Jesus, it may be Buddha, it may be Dolores Cannon, it may be someone else who you whose teachings have helped you. So it depends on that. So you can meet them when the rapture begins. And basically the other thing is what they said about is the rapture. They said that they cannot actually tell us the exact time because it depends on the completion of the transition from the third into the fourth. And also one of the fascinating things that I remember from the session, which they said is during the rapture, the entities who are not of a fourth density vibration will be taken to a different planet to allow them to continue their journey again, to learn the lessons of third density again, okay? So this is really interesting to find out. And the other thing that they have told us is about what actually happened with Princess Diana. So actually, turns out, we thought that, maybe, it was correct that the Princess Diana had died in a car crash as stated by the mainstream media. But turns out, she actually is not dead. She actually is currently in Mars. Princess Diana was actually abducted by the reptilians, and they had, from my understanding of listening to the session, I understood that they had abducted Princess Diana and then created a body double which was put inside the car, okay, so which supposedly crashed, right? And then the body was actually not the real body of Princess Diana. She was actually abducted, and she is currently in Mars. She is being used by the negative entities to create replicates or reptilian humanoid beings which have the ability of entering the Earth planet. This is what they said in the session, which is really crazy. And also one of the things they said is these hybrid reptilians, they are being used to enter the Earth planet. And I believe, these are the shapeshifters, which have the ability of changing their shape into different beings to influence our planetary cycles. So it's really interesting what's actually happening out there. The last thing is about the test to find out the ascension progress, right? So they tell us that there is this kind of circle of ascension which all of us have to pass through during our transition from third to fourth. Basically what I understood is what they said is, look, the circle of ascension primarily starts from learning how to detach from your attachment with material things of third density reality. Once you become detached from that, then you need to become detached from your thoughts and images and words in your mind. And then there is another level of detachment, which is to detach from service to self, which is the hardest, I believe. And then you can turn to service to others. So if you want to find out, I think I am currently at the level of around learning, the lessons of detaching from my thought forms, because I am in the process. And also, I am trying to do service to others, right? So I'm just trying to help as many people as possible. So I'm at that level. So you can find about your own self when you listen to the session where you are at and what you need to learn in order to ascend into the fourth density consciousness. So my friends, thank you so much for watching the video. I also want to say big thank you to all of you for sending me requests for your past life on my email, which I am doing whenever I get free time. And then the other thing is, I want to say big thank you to all of you for joining on Patreon, where I upload 3 sessions a week. And we also do meditations, practical things which we can apply. And the other thing is, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining me on UNIFYD TV series. The link is on the description. So with that being said, my friends, I hope you will enjoy this next video. So see you in the next session.